Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel Lovers by Tanya. In today's session we are going to discuss a topic which is really important for every single woman who is or will be a part of the workplace in India. So we will be decoding the POSH Act 2013, what it is and why was it created and how does it work. We will cover it in this session. So whether you are a student or an intern or a future employee, this law is designed to protect you. So let's get started. First, we have to understand the meaning of sexual harassment. Definition of sexual harassment. First, that is physical contact and advances. This means any unwanted physical touching. Next, demand or request for sexual favors. That is, when someone asks for any sexual favors, often in exchange for any work benefits. Okay. Next, the sexually colored remarks. This includes something like inappropriate jokes or any comments about a person's body, about a woman's body, or any language that is sexual in nature and that language makes the woman uncomfortable. Okay. Next is showing pornography, like forcing someone to look into any sexual images or any videos or any material things which is against her will. And finally, any other unwelcome physical, verbal, or non-verbal conduct of sexual nature. The key word is there, that is the unwelcome. If the behavior is unwanted and makes the person, the woman, on the receiving feels her offended or intimidated, it can be considered as sexual harassments. So, where did this all begin? The foundation for the POSH Act was laid down by the Supreme Court in a landmark case which is known as the Vishaka Guidelines. So, let's discuss the facts that there was a Vanwari Devi, a social worker in Rajasthan, who was gang raped by villagers while she was trying to stop a child marriage, and there were no effective laws at the time to address sexual harassment at the workplace. The Supreme Court laid down that the Vishaka Guidelines, this was the first formal framework to prevent the sexual harassment at workplace, and it formed the basis for the POSH Act 2013 and recognized sexual harassment as the violation of fundamental rights under Article 14, 15 and 21. Now let's discuss few guidelines. The first is the definition of sexual harassment, which I have already discussed in the second slide. Next, the employer's duty. That employer's duty is he must prevent, prohibit and redress sexual harassment in the workplace. Third is the complaints committee, that there must be some committees. Every organization should have a complaint mechanism, including a complaints committee, which is headed by a woman and involving an external member from an NGO or legal background. Okay. Fourth is the awareness, that is, employers must spread awareness about the issue and the mechanisms in place. Fifth, the confidentiality, that is the identity of the complainant and the accused must be kept confidential. And the sixth one is time bound inquiry, that is a prompt and effective inquiry must be conducted. Okay. The Vishaka guidelines were a huge step, but they had some limitations also. So as you can see here, there was a need for a proper concrete law. So why a law was needed? First, the guidelines were judicial directions, not an actual law passed by the parliament. Okay. And because of this, many organizations either ignored them or did not implement them properly. And there were no clear penalties if an employer failed to follow the guidelines, and there was a lack of consistency in how complaints were handled across different companies and sectors. The demand for a proper law grew stronger over time as pushed by the incidents of various harassments. International conventions also, like CEDAW. CEDAW means Convention on Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, and consistent efforts by women's rights groups also. And finally, in 2013, the Parliament passed the POSH Act. Its full name is the Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace Prevention, Prohibition and Redressal Act 2013. And this act took the principles from the Vishaka guidelines and gave them the legal power. Okay, so it made it mandatory for all the employers in India to take steps to prevent and address the sexual harassment. So, what does the POSH Act aim to do? So, let's discuss the objective of the POSH Act. First, to prevent sexual harassment from happening in the first place. Second, to provide a clear process to redress complaints if it does not happen, if does happen. Okay, to protect women at the workplace and to promote a safe and secure working environment for everyone. And who does this law actually apply to? So let's discuss the scope and applicability. It covers both public and private sectors. It applies to organized and unorganized sectors. This is very important. And it protects domestic workers, interns, and even students in the schools and colleges. And essentially it also covers all women regardless of their age or employment status, whether they are full-time, part-time, temporary, or even just visiting a workplace for work. Now for the most practical part, that how does the law actually work? The act created two types of committees to handle these complaints. Okay, so first we have the internal complaint committee, that is also known as ICC in short form. So the internal complaint committee under section 4 of the POSH Act to handle the complaints of sexual harassment at the workplace. Now let's discuss the constitution. Mandatory for every workplace with 10 or more employees. So there must be 10 or more employees. The members, that it is a committee within the organization, it must be headed by a senior woman employee. Okay, have at least two other employees and one external member from an NGO or with a legal background. This actually ensures the fairness and impartiality. And the tenure, members hold office for 3 years, and it applies to employees within an organization including full-time, part-time, interns or consultants. But if the employees are less than 10, then we can file in the local complaint committee, that is LCC, which is established under section 6 of this act to receive complaints of sexual harassment. So women working in establishments with less than 10 employees, they can file there, or where the internal committee is not constituted, okay, or from domestic workers. The LCC is formed by the district officer in every district. They comprises chairperson who is the eminent woman in social work, and there must be one member from women's NGOs or associations, one member from SC, ST minority community, and district officer representative who is ex officio person. Okay. Now what are the functions? They receive complaints of sexual harassment from eligible women. They conduct inquiries and recommend appropriate action, and also submit the annual reports to the district officers. And they covers the unorganized sectors, small establishments and home-based workers. So you know where to go. Now what is the process? So we have to learn the complaint process and inquiry. Step 1, that is filing a complaint. This must be done within 3 months of the incident. Step 2, that is the preliminary inquiry. The committee first looks into the matter. Step 3, that is full inquiry and hearing. This is like a formal investigation where both parties are heard. Step 4, that is the report submission. The committee submits its findings and recommendations. And the last one is, that is step 5, the disciplinary action or closure. That is based on the report, the employer must take action which could range from a warning to termination of the accused. Okay. And let's discuss the duties of employers, where the employer must form an ICC. Okay, uh, they can clearly display their POSH policy at the workplace. They must, obviously they must clearly display their POSH policy at the workplace. They conduct regular awareness programs for all employees, assist the complainant in every way possible, and submit an annual report on the cases received and handled. Now let's discuss few important case laws. First, Medha Kotwal Lele versus Union of India 2013. The fact is, a group of women activists approached the court stating that the Vishaka guidelines were not being properly implemented, and the Supreme Court directed all states and employers to strictly implement the Vishaka guidelines and set up an internal complaints committee. Next, Apparel Export Promotion Council versus A.K. Chopra 1999, where a senior officer tried to molest his junior female employee. And the Delhi High Court acquitted him, but the Supreme Court overturned the decision. Supreme Court held that even an attempt to outrage modesty or create fear this constitutes sexual harassment, and expanded the understanding of harassment to include non-physical gestures and threatening behavior also. Next, Punjab and Sindh Bank versus Durgesh Kuar 2022 case. In this case, a female employee filed a complaint of harassment against a senior officer. The ICC found her complaint genuine and recommended for the punishment. Okay, so the High Court upheld the decision and emphasized that the ICC's inquiry holds significant value unless shown to be perverse. Next, Dr. Punita K. Sodhi versus Union of India 2010 case. In this case, a female doctor alleged sexual harassment against a senior, but the departmental inquiry acquitted the accused, and the court emphasized the need for a fair, unbiased, and transparent inquiry mechanism. So, as we come to the end of our lecture, let's think about the path forward. The POSH Act gives us a powerful framework for equality, but it's up to us that how to build on that foundation, right? So this requires two things. That is the strict implementation of the law and the commitment to sensitization and awareness. This is not just about preventing harassment, it's about actively empowering women and fostering a positive, respectful organizational culture where everyone can thrive, right? So the final thought I want to leave you with you is this: the a safe workplace is everyone's responsibility. So I would love to know what this statements actually means to you. Let me know in the comments below. And thank you for being such a great audience. If this video helped you understand the POSH Act better, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Your support helps us create more content like this. Until next time, take care.